T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What is up? We finally made it. We finally made it to our weekly show. It's been a little bit of a grind, Halloween passing out candy. Brian was at a model airplane expo or something like that.
I was I was flying on a plane.
Flying on a plane. That's what it was. Yeah, he's a world traveler over here. So
What can I say?
It took us a couple of days, but we still want to get a show out for all you guys and kind of go over everything that we can. And actually kind of worked out in our favor. If we did this Monday night, we would have missed all of the trades. And I feel like we would have been talking about a lot of stuff that wasn't as important. So now we get to see the trades and have a day to think about it and kind of break down what the fantasy implications we think the fantasy implications are going to be. So, Brian, why don't you start us off? Who's the number one winner of
the
trade season?
I'm not sure he's the number one winner, but he's first in our list. I wouldn't say he's the number one. I have a bold take for number one winner. First, I just want to say, if people were really this into, it was an awesome trade deadline day. 10 trades, most ever. If you like this, everyone's going to hate me for saying this. You need to get into soccer.
Oh God.
They have a transfer dedeadline day. This is every year.
Where's the leave video button?
You can't mute me.
Can I mute you?
Soccer, and then you'll start watching European soccer, and
I'll just keep muting you if you do.
You'll get this every 6 months. Okay, the first player is T.J. Hawkinson to the Vikings. We're going to talk about. Do you think he's the number one? Has the biggest boost with fantasy?
I do. I think so. Yeah.
I think he's probably the biggest name that was traded. But it kind of just comes down to how quickly he can learn their playbook. Because he's obviously going to be used. He doesn't get a bye, so kind of sucks. I'm not sure if you're trusting him this week. Would you?
No, that's kind of and I mean, obviously I know the notes, but that's really where I land is, this week you can't, but realistically it all depends on how quick he can pick it up.
Yeah.
Which that's obviously a big unknown.
Yeah,
especially for tight end so hard.
Yeah. But if he can get up to speed, I think you and I both agree it is a big upgrade. So there's obviously two big guys in that offense, Thielen and Justin Jefferson. Then also we can't forget Dalvin Cook also sees a decent chunk of receiving too. But the thing is, Thielen got knocked up, no, he did not. He got a knock a few weeks ago, or was it last week? But he's might not be 100%, and this might be Minnesota showing their cards a little bit that they might need another receiver. KJ Osborne is good, but I mean, and he should slide perfectly into that third in the pecking order after Jefferson and Thielen. And if you look back to last season, this is an offense that is tight end friendly. So Tyler Conklin did have a decent stat line last season. He had 61 receptions for 593 yards and 3 touchdowns. Not great, but also I think we can agree that Hawkinson's a better receiving tight end than Conklin is. Conklin's good. You wrote noted superstar.
That would be the sarcasm font there.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, Hawk is better than Conklin. I know it's different coaching staff and stuff, but still, I think Hawkinson, it's an upgrade. I don't think it's a massive upgrade, but I think it is an upgrade.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too. It's I think within even their notes, Irv Smith was actually third in targets, which does not feel at all true as someone that has rostered Irv Smith throughout this season so far. But I am excited for Hawk. I do think it's going to be. Well, actually, I guess it depends. It comes how quick the playbook comes into fruition there for him. But if you can pick it up within a week or two, could be a massive, especially fantasy playoff boost for Next up is someone that I have many, many, many shares of throughout Dynasty and Redraft. Nyheim Hines. So he gets traded to the Bills, and it's really, really tough for me. So like, one, I'm a fan of his. I think he's good, and I do think like you could make the argument that he is the Buffalo's most talented running back on their roster. They only had to trade Zach Moss in a conditional 6 that like may turn into a 5th for him. So it's not like they like gave up a bunch for Hines. And this is where I'm starting to be torn, is that they didn't really pay a lot for him. So they don't have like a massive justification where they need to play him. Josh Allen isn't really a dump off running back, passer type quarterback. Now that could be a product of who they have in the running back room, but he hasn't really had that. Like he had Shady McCoy his rookie year, but at rookie year, Allen wasn't strong. So he's never really had a great pass catching back. But there's already been a lot of talk within like, I'm a Patriots fan, but like I see Bills stuff constantly. Talking about how Hines is like going to be such a great upgrade to special teams and like all those things, where he should walk into that third down role immediately. And we know Buffalo has been looking to upgrade that position with the JD McKissic thing and the fallout, and then James Cook, who has done nothing. But I guess he's starting to come on a little bit more. And that's where, again, GM speak now with Brandon Beane. Mike Girardi had him tweet quote him where he's talking about that the Hines deal shouldn't impact James Cook too much. And like James Cook has been coming on of late. So I'm very torn with what to think about it, because in one aspect, if he pushes Singletary for the RB1, like he's a good runner. He's not a grinder, but he's a good running, and he's great at catching the ball. So like he should smash in PPR. But I don't know. What do you think? Like, does he have that role in the offense? Does that role really exist in Buffalo?
See, I hate it because I was on James Cook.
No. So, well,
yeah.
FSU. Sorry.
It was, that trade was not great for me.
No, not at all.
And it sucks because James Cook had started seeing like a decent amount of work. Like the Bills were very honest here, and it's like they need an upgrade. Yep. So, and they've obviously seen enough that like James Cook is not going to be it this season. Yep. I'm in a terrible position because that's like you. I have Nyheim Hines everywhere, and I also have Saquon Barkley everywhere, and so I need a bye week fill in. And
tough break.
Yeah. But like I just don't know, because it's like, has this role not been like, there could be a role here for him, but have the Bills like haven't shown that they're going to give a running back that role? Is it just because they haven't had the talent, or because that's just not how the offense is built? So I have no idea what to think of this trade. If someone wants to offer me for Nyheim Hines, because I think it's going to be a great like addition, I might take that. Yeah, as long as it's a good value. Just because I don't know where to settle on this.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. And that's where I'm along the same lines. Is I want to love it, especially as someone that rosters Nyheim Hines in like 80%, like everywhere. You obviously can't drop anything like that. You just got to wait to see how it hashes out. I think there's going to be, we'll talk about worse running back rooms because of this, because of the trade deadline. But I want to believe Hines to the moon. Alex, I hope so, for my fantasy sake. But yeah, it's tough. We haven't seen it in that offense yet. So we got to hope.
Here's the other thing. You want to target receiving running backs who are going to be facing negative game script. What negative game script is he going to be facing? Like the Bills have just been walloping people.
Yep.
So I don't see them having to play catch up much this season. And so you might get 1 to 2 games where Hines sees a lot of run in that negative game script, but that's not something you can depend on.
Yeah. So I want to love it, but I'm a little bit nervous about loving it.
Next, I have what I think is the best, and I see people trashing this a lot. I love Chase Claypool to the Bears. Here's what it is. They're replacing Equanimeous St. Brown and Dante Pettis in the offense.
True.
Just those are two guys that like just in fantasy football we had written off. So he's a massive upgrade to that offense. I don't see him taking anything away from Mooney, anything away from Kmet. I just see them getting better at receivers. So I'm bullish on it just because Justin Fields throws the ball deep. He has the highest percentage of passes over 15 air yards. Over a quarter of his passes are over 15 air yards.
Wow.
And we know that that's a role that he has seen success in Pittsburgh. One reason he was terrible the first few weeks of the season is his ADOT was like 3.
It was bad.
No, they refused to pass the ball downfield, and then finally Pickett got in there, and they were able to stretch it a little bit. So he does have that. He can stretch the field. He's a big outside receiver, and Fields also only ranks behind Jameis Winston and Mitch Trubisky in percent of yards over 20 air yards. So he's completing more than Jameis and Trubisky are. Were. Neither of those guys are starting anymore, so I don't know what that says about Justin Fields. But he's gonna have to be a focal point of this offense. The offense is getting more comfortable. Fields has not looked horrible the last few weeks.
Because they're letting him run finally.
Yeah, they're letting that offense finally do what Fields and that offense was built to do. So I have sent out a few trade offers this week trying to buy Chase Claypool. I think his value might go up. I think you might see the Bears pass a little bit more, and he definitely if anything, he's a upgrade over Equinemius St. Brown and Dante Pettis. And those guys have actually they've caught a few touchdowns. They haven't been really usable in fantasy, but if he's an upgrade over them, he might just see a little bit more. He might do well in fantasy.
Yeah, and especially in the real life factor, if you get better players on the field, that opens everything up for everyone else. So I could see it. The Bears are just so bad that it's hard to believe, but they also just paid a very premium high-end second-round pick, so they're gonna want to use him and they're gonna pay him money. So I'm with you. I'm with you on that one there. So talking about another running back and something that I just absolutely hate, loathe it entirely. Shout out Jim Carrey and the Grinch. Chase Edmonds going to the Broncos. So I get it. In a real life sense, Melvin Gordon has been meh. Latavius Murray is kind of meh. So in a real life sense, I don't know, trading Bradley Chubb probably dumb, but I don't know. But
that was not great. I could feel the collective groan while being in Denver when that happened.
Yeah, I could imagine. So I get getting Chase Edmonds and that part to help their real football team, but in regards to fantasy, I think it just makes it a complete nightmare. Melvin Gordon and Latavius Murray were already splitting 55-45 in favor of Melgo, but they were producing relatively equally, and you could start Latavius Murray, and though he was getting under 50% of the work, he was still getting 10, 12 points a game, which is fine, right? For a deep flex or something like that, RB2 and a 0 RB. But I think now adding in Chase Edmonds, it's just a complete 3-headed gross nightmare. For you, I mean, do you think you can't start any of the 3, right? Can you? Is it even worth rostering any of these guys now? Is it just a complete shit show for you?
Here's the only way I'm starting Chase Edmonds is when the Broncos play the Chiefs twice this year, and I know that they're going to be in a severely negative game script. Because I think we can assume that Chase Edmonds is going to be the receiving back.
So it's
gross.
It's just gross. So I have Latavius Murray in a couple spots and Scott Fishbowl. So I don't even know why I have him now because sweet, I will get somehow 4 points a game from him. So that one's gross and I hate it. What about our next guys? Is he looking any better?
Jeff Wilson to the Dolphins. It sucked, but it also sucked that CMC was at the 49ers. So I think it's kind of honestly a improvement for Jeff Wilson just because you don't have one of the best running backs ahead of you anymore. Raheem Mostert is awesome, but he also has been injury prone. So, yeah. it's I don't are we just is every 49ers running back just going to go over to Miami now?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy. They know the system, they know the coach knows
Yeah.
them, might as well.
Yeah. But I just think Mostert's still the locked in RB1 here. He didn't boom like I really hoped last week. I was all in on him going massive, but he just didn't see the production we'd expect from that horrible rush defense.
Yeah.
But honestly, with the schedule that the Dolphins still have, and with Mostert's inability to stay healthy, if someone drops Jeff Wilson and you're in a bad spot with running back, he's not a bad add-in or bad add right now, because if Mostert goes down, the next few weeks are great, and Miami is a good offense.
Yeah.
So,
and he's shown to be good.
Yeah.
So I mean, he had some good games this season in the past where he got to the spot starts. He showed to be productive, and again, it's a system that he's been productive in. I think I kind of liken him to like an Alexander Madison. When Cook's healthy, Madison's is nothing. But when he's out, you got a top 16, top 20 type guy, and I think Wilson's the same way.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Wilson has a good game if he sees I could see this backfield going either way. I want to believe that it is Mostert's locked up, but I would be adding Wilson and holding him so much more than Chase Edmonds.
Yeah. Oh yeah. By a lot. So now getting into outside of the trades, looking at a couple of things that Brian and I saw from this week. This one hurts. This one hurts a lot. Going back to Denver, I have Courtland Sutton in a lot of places. And the first 5 weeks, even with how bad as that offense looked and was, he was averaging 9 targets a game, 83 yards, a 28% target share through those first 5 weeks. And it was just okay, they're not good, but he's getting work. As they improve, it'll only get better. Well, I don't know if they've really gotten any better, but the last 3 games, he's gone from 9 targets to 5 a game, from 83 yards down to 16 yards per game, which I don't even know how that's possible.
Yeah,
and a 28% target share down to a 17% target share. And that correlates almost perfectly with Jerry Jeudy going from 6 targets a game in the first 5 to 8 targets a game in the last 3, and 47 yards to 71 yards, 17% target share to 26% target share. So you can get it. As Sutton dropped, Jeudy they just completely flipped roles. They completely flipped roles. And it sucks. And I hate it as a Sutton, manager, whatever, roster, or whatever you want to say. But I think it's time to reevaluate how we look at who is the lead dog in Denver. And I think Jeudy has taken over. And I hate it.
And there's 2 things I think are at play here. The first, as a Broncos fan, I've watched every game I could. I've wanted to just die in the middle of all these games. And unfortunately, most of America has watched all these games too, because they've been in prime time so often. But the first few weeks, Russell was just staring down Sutton.
Mm-hmm.
It was obvious where he was going. So it looks like he's eased that off a little bit and is now spreading it out. I mean, we're going to talk about him later, but Greg Dulcich is just going crazy. But then also, I think back to a video that Greg Jennings did. He was a video with the 33rd team that he was talking about, that Judy's a guy, a good timing route runner, that it's going to take a little bit for him to get his timing with Russ going down, whereas Sutton's just a throw it up and catch it guy.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing with it is that they didn't play in the preseason at all. One of the stupidest things that the Broncos did, in my opinion, is none of these guys played together in the preseason. So really that first week and those first few weeks were them trying to figure out what a real life game looks like under Russell Wilson as a Bronco. And so I think it only makes sense that Jeudy is getting more and more comfortable with Russ, and that I think going forward, I don't do rankings, but if I was ranking, I'd make sure to rank Jeudy ahead of Sutton every week. Do you agree with that?
I mean, my head says yes, especially the trend is there and you can't deny it. My heart obviously doesn't want to believe it, but yeah, I think you have to.
Yeah.
And that's even something that a while ago, Julian Edelman was talking about on like Part of My Take. They were talking about like, why they hated preseason, and Edelman was just like, no, it's really important. Like you have to get reps in before the real stuff happens. And you saw that actually with a lot of the teams that didn't practice together, didn't play together in the preseason. They all started off really, really slowly. So it's just something that is there noticeable. And I mean, especially when you get a brand new quarterback, like how do you not play together?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I still can't believe that. Like Hackett's decision making has been bad this season, but I
Sure.
think that's one of his worst decisions that he made.
Yeah, I agree.
Next, I have some guy that every time I watch him play, I love watching him, is Alec Pierce for the Colts. And he got his new quarterback this week, Sam Elhinger, started ahead of Matt Ryan. Pierce had 20 air yards per target. Like the man was just catching deep balls all week or all day. He had 5 targets, so he had 100 air yards for the day. He completed 3 of those for 65 yards. Ellinger he's both accurate and has this deep ball. So he did only have an ADOT of like, I think it was like 8.3. So he's not crazy like Jameis Winston pushing it, or even like Justin Fields pushing down the field. But he has shown that like Pierce might be his deep threat. So for any DFS lineups, I'm going to be looking at Pierce's price. And also I think as you go later into the season and you need some big performances, Pierce might be a good guy to add as like a flex play that like, he might get like 6 or 7 points. If he breaks 1 or 2 of those, you're getting an 18, 19 point day out of him. So I'm probably going to be trying to line up some trades for him in Dynasty for my competing teams. And even in like redraft, might be trying to position myself to get him, because I think after just like a 9.5 week this week in PPR, everyone's not all in on him, but I think it's coming. I think a big week from him is just around the corner.
Yeah. Like you said, it only takes one. So that's my Deshaun Jackson. You get one 150-yard touchdown, and it makes a week.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. So for our quick hits, we are going to go real quick because we've talked a lot about trades and stuff. So going down to Jacksonville, Evan Engram finally caught a touchdown, which is good. He's been a steady producer. I think he's a tight end 10 on the year. So he's been fine, but now with if he can start to reel in a couple of more touchdowns for the second half of the year, I should make him a really great second half tight end. Jacksonville, they are starting to fall off, which means they're going to have to throw more, and that's good news for the pass catchers, and that's Evan Engram.
I will add, as a Broncos fan, the fact that Trevor Lawrence threw a passing touchdown against the Broncos defense is actually pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Which
he's
again, did they trade Bradley Chubb because was it a money thing?
I think it was recouping assets that they lost in the Russell Wilson trade.
Okay.
And then also all their defensive linemen have stepped up this season for the Broncos. So it's a bad loss, but it's losing a guy who's near the end of his rookie contract. So getting a first-round pick for him was massive.
All right. Makes sense. Because their defense has been unreal, but okay. I get it. But yeah, then on the flip side, Christian Kirk was someone we've talked about negatively here and there the past couple of weeks as he's gone downhill. He had a good week last week. I forget what it was. It was like 7 for 96 or something like that. I don't know. There was a 7 or 9 and 6 in his stat line, but he went 3 for 40 on 7 targets. So he got a lot of looks, but just did nothing with it. So he's starting to be a little bit more of a roller coastery type guy versus how he started so hot, which sucks. This is a Denver heavy show. Greg Dulchich really needs to be rostered more.
Yes.
32% on ESPN, 37% on Yahoo, 45% sleeper. Sleeper's always the sharpest. He's over, I think he's 11, 12 points a game the last 3 weeks. He's getting steady targets from Russell Wilson. Only going to get better, right? That's kind of how rookies go. And as a rookie tight end, coming off injury, he just immediately started to produce. He absolutely should be rostered in your league. And if he is not rostered in your league, you should be the one that should go do that before people catch on.
Yeah, I think he honestly could be a top 5 tight end rest of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that hair. The hair is just magical.
Samson. And, a little shout out. I said don't give up on Michael Gallup after his bagel. He went 4 for 49 on 6 targets this week. That's obviously not going to set the world on fire. But again, he's coming back from an ACL. Dallas will continue to improve as Dak feels better and better with that thumb. Don't give up on Michael Gallup. I think he still will produce very well for the second half and especially into the fantasy playoffs as they all on offense get healthier and get in a rhythm. So don't give up on Michael Gallup. All right. So with that said, our Robbie Anderson of the Week award. Our runner-up was someone that runs hot and cold in general. It's kind of what he does. But on 7 targets, Gabe Davis went for 35 yards on 2 catches. So not exactly the hottest stat line. But there's a group that deserved it significantly more. In a 24-0 loss, the Las Vegas Raiders. So Derek Carr and Josh McDaniels get our Robbie Anderson of the Week award for allowing Devontae Adams to only get 5 targets, and with those 5 targets, catch 1 ball for 3 yards. Just wildly unacceptable. Never okay. He should have 5 targets every quarter. This is a joke. So this guy's Carr, McDaniels, wear it. Terrible performance of the week.
Yeah, and I don't care about if you try and say, oh, well, they're scheming him out. Then why is like Hopkins just getting?
Yep.
Like though that caliber of player shouldn't be able to be schemed out of something by a defense.
Nope. Never. So, all right, Brian, you know the deal.
Oh man, I wasn't ready for this.
How are you not? It's every week.
Give me an animal.
Give me an animal, a dog.
There's no dogs in zoos. I don't know facts about dogs.
Oh, okay, zoo animal?
Yeah.
Geez. A lion.
Lion's roars can be heard for up to 5 miles.
Wow, off the top of the dome. I love it.
There we go. Male lions' color of their mane is actually directly tied to their testosterone level. So the darker the mane, the more testosterone they have, and so the more dominant and more aggressive and stronger they are. So this is turning into a Disney fact, but Scar should have beaten the crap out of Simba.
I've heard that before, actually. I've heard the dark mane thing, so that makes sense. But Scar.
So as a ginger, it also applies to you. So
you're saying I have. I love it. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back, I believe, on our normal schedule, Monday night show coming up on week 9. But it worked out, actually. Getting to talk trades and fantasy.
That was actually perfect with the trade. So
yeah. So maybe this will be our thing every year. We'll wait for the trade deadline to do it. All right. Speaking of your hair, Brian, it looks fantastic right now. So
thank you. 6 inches of snow does this to hair. So
yeah, I know that life. All right, everybody. Have a good one.
Adios.